Boy, do I have an episode for you today. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Poor Decisions podcast, the podcast where poor decisions are made right. New fucking intro. Hello. Oh my gosh. There's actually a story behind this new slogan. Tuesday, I had gone out, and oh my god, I got so fucked up. I'm not even gonna lie, this was the most fucked up I have been in a minute. I was at my guy friend's fraternity and I had drank a lot of wine, and then they were all gonna go out to the bars and they were like, come on, just come out. I wasn't planning on going out. I went out, kept drinking more because I was like, I'm not feeling anything and I just want to feel a little buzzed, and that is what always gets my ass. I had like 2 or 3 mixed drinks. I was taking shots of tequila, and then all of a sudden it all hit at once. And let's just say I had probably one of the worst hangovers I have ever had before. This was probably like top 3. My friend Cruz had picked me up from the frat, and I was just begging him. I was like, I just want McDonald's. I need McDonald's. He got me McDonald's. And when we were in the drive-thru, I just started puking my guts out, like in the drive-thru. And according to him, I don't remember this, like we parked, I was throwing up all over the parking lot, he would drive, I was throwing up, got to my best friend Sammy's, crashed there, woke up that morning, was so violently hungover. Oh my god. It was the type of hangover where you needed like a 2-day recovery. I was literally puking all morning in her bathroom, and then she had work, and I thought that I was good to go. I was like, okay, like we're just gonna pick up my car from the frat, everything's gonna be good, and then I'll just drive you to work because all the alcohol's out of me. Spoiler alert. It wasn't. So we go to Uber to the frat house, and I'm in my outfit from the night before. I am in my boots. I am in my mini skirt. I have some random t-shirt from Sammy's closet. It looked like I had a night. We're all talking to my Uber driver. She was so nice. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh no. I'm gonna fucking puke my brains out. We are driving in the middle of fucking campus, and I just go, please pull over. I'm literally about to get sick. I'm going to get so sick right now. Get out of the car. I start puking and puking and puking. Every ounce of fluid left in me was just coming out of my body. I was just puking everywhere, all over my boots. And keep in mind, this was in the middle of campus. So people are walking to their 11 a.m. class. People are just on campus, living their life, doing their thing. And then there's just this girl in the middle of the street, just puking and puking and puking. Oh my gosh, it was so rough. Probably at least like top 10 embarrassing moments. I literally was like, I'm gonna end up on Barstool. This is so bad. There's like middle schoolers getting a tour. Like, hey, here's the real college experience. There's just gonna be a random girl puking out of her Uber on a random Wednesday morning. It was awful. It was so awful. But luckily after that whole experience, I just got all the alcohol out of me and I was good for the day. But I was so violently hungover. I felt like shit the rest of the day. I was just like, dude, this is awful. And Cruz that afternoon had texted me a video of me slouched over in his car throwing up, and he's like, this is gonna be perfect for the podcast. I was like, fuck no, like fuck you, this is awful. And then he goes, poor decisions, and I drunkenly go, made right. So that has inspired our new slogan, and it has inspired today's episode. My hangover was so bad, I just had to talk about the topic of hangovers, because after that day, I've just been thinking about it, and I was like, this has to be an episode, because hangovers are probably one of the worst experiences to have after drinking. Some hangovers will literally scar you, and you'll never want to go out again. So today I wanted to talk about hangovers and that whole fiasco and how we get there and how we deal and recover. A happy Monday. I'm sure a lot of people are recovering from the weekend. I am filming this on Saturday morning, and I am definitely going out tonight, so I will be recovering as well. Me editing here, I definitely am recovering from Saturday night. Anyways, back into the episode. This is also the last episode of January. Poor Decisions is officially a month old. They grow up so fast. podcast. I'm so excited for February though. I have a lot of ideas. I also plan on having my first guest on the pod, so I'm just really excited. But if you're new here, hi, I'm Sydney Christensen. I am the host of Poor Decisions. We have a lot of fun here every Monday, and I would love for you to stick around. This is a really funny episode to start with if you're listening to the pod for the first time, but let's get into it. Now, the first time that I ever remember being hungover, it was my junior year of high school. I was friends with these two girls at the time, and one of them was like, have you ever tried, even like thinking or saying this drink just gives me like pure war flashbacks. She was like, have you ever tried Pink Whitney? And I was like, no, what is that? She explains to me that it's a vodka that tastes like lemonade. You can't even taste the alcohol. And at this point in time in high school, I just wanted to experience what it was like being drunk. So I was like, fuck it, we'll have a sleepover and we'll just drink. So me and this girl, we end up drinking a whole bottle in 30 minutes. This was probably the second or third time I drank alcohol too. And when I first had tried Pink Whitney, it literally tasted like nothing. If you're watching the video version of this, Kermisha back here, this was me. I was like, damn, you can't even taste this. This is some good shit. I was feeling so good. The high school Pink Whitney drunk, no other feeling. But obviously, because I had drank it so fast and such a large amount, I was so sick. I got so sick that night. Followed into the morning. I was so hungover. My boyfriend at the time, he lived in a different city. He literally drove out in the middle of the night to come take care of me. That's how fucked up I was. And I was so hung the next day. In my bathroom, I had this steel bucket and it held all my towels and stuff. And I remember I was going to get sick and I was like, I need a bucket, blah, blah, blah. Boyfriend at the time grabs the bucket, takes out all the towels. I start puking in this bucket, and both of my parents come in, and I'm just projectile vomiting in this fucking bucket. TMI, but it's literally pink. Like, I was like poisoned by this alcohol. It was awful. And both of my parents just laughed and were like, oh, you had a night last night. Shout out to them. I have the coolest parents in the world. Because I remember being so scared that I was going to get in trouble. But I was so hurt. I was puking that whole day. I remember I would try to sleep and I would lay down on my back and I would be like, I can't. Like, I'm going to throw up. Laying down makes me sick. It was like I was still drunk. I remember I would lay down and I was still spinning. Like, I still had the spins. But I wanted to sleep so bad. My body needed it so bad. I literally slept like sitting up. Like, I had stacked pillows, put my back on them, and was just sleeping while I was sitting. What a time to be alive when I could drink Pink Whitney. I've gotten fucked up on Pink Whitney so many fucking times. Like, I'm literally scarred from that shit. I went to a date dash with my best friend Seth, and we decided to split a bottle of Pink Whitney. This was last year. And I don't know what it is, but Pink Whitney just has the effect of, like, you're going to black out no matter what. I'm pretty sure I had alcohol poisoning, actually, from this night. I don't even remember. Seth and I will talk about it and he'll be like, remember the date dash when you did this? And I'll be like, yeah, I don't recall that moment. So Pink Whitney always just gets me violently hurt. I have not drank Pink Whitney in almost a year and I do not plan on drinking it ever again. Even the thought of it just makes my stomach hurt. Alright, now that we have drove down memory lane with my first hangover experience, let's move into my more practical tips onto how to survive your hangover. Because let's face it, after the night you've had, you're gonna need these. If you want to prevent a hangover, you have to think ahead. Like, this is something you're gonna have to think of when you go out. Because my number one tip is to not mix your alcohols. Tuesday, I was being fucking stupid and I mixed a lot of alcohol together. Wine, mixed drinks, and tequila, that is literally a recipe for disaster. You especially don't want to mix your light and dark alcohols or you are going to have the worst hangover of your life. Different types of alcohol are not going to mix well in your stomach. So if you want to prevent your hangover, you should not be mixing. Obviously, too, just watch how you're drinking. But those two tips are just information that everybody knows and that nobody wants to follow. I mean, I'm aware of it, but I rarely follow it because when you are going out, you just want to go out. You don't care. At the end of the day, you just want to be buzzed. You want to be drunk. Another good tip for preventing a hangover is definitely going out with a friend who knows your limits. My problem with drinking is that I will drink and drink and drink, and I will not feel anything, but then it will all hit me at once. For example, this week when I was at the bars, I had one drink and I was pretty much buzzed, but I didn't feel it. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep drinking. Like, I want to be fucked up. Like, I want to be drunk. So I kept drinking, and then I took shots, and then we all know what happened after that. So definitely pace yourself and watch yourself. When I take shots, I like taking them back to back, and I had to learn the hard way that is not the best idea for me. I remember my senior year, this was another experience with good old Pink Whitney over here. My high school would do bonfires, and it's literally like in the middle of nowhere, and it's just a big bonfire and everyone just smokes and drinks. I feel like it's self-explanatory. It's like a kickback. And I didn't really go out that much in high school, but my best friend Chloe was going, and I was like, hey, like, let's just all go. We went, and I had a bottle of Pink Whitney. I was just drinking it and drinking it and drinking it and drinking it, not pacing myself at all. I was so fucked up. I literally was on the floor. It was actually really, really embarrassing. I had also made out with an ex-boyfriend as well, which was, my whole body's cringing right now. Like, it was not a good decision. So if you're not wanting to be hungover the next day, just don't mix your alcohol, pace yourself, go out with people who know how you drink and know how you are and know your limit. Moving on into the next day, the next morning, say you got absolutely hammered and it is the next day and you are hungover as fuck. You gotta do your recovery ritual. I love my recovery rituals. I fucking hate being hungover, but there is something about my hangover routine that keeps me fucking going. So I'm gonna walk you through it. I wake up, obviously. Thank God I wake up. Most of the time it is in my best friend's bed, and I will immediately think, what the fuck happened last night? Or, oh my fucking God, I was fucked up last night. I immediately go to my social media, specifically Snapchat, because I'm unfortunately a poster on my private story, and I love to post when I am drunk. So I will go and rewatch my private story and make sure that I didn't post most embarrassing shit. For example, back to Tuesday in my little adventure, I had posted a video in Cruz's car when he was driving me back to Sammy's. And I'm just gonna play you a little snippet, and you will understand why I always check my social medias after a night out. Yo, Tucson, I just threw the fuck up. I'm so drunk. I'm very lucky, and I will laugh at myself. Thankfully, in the private story that I usually post on, it's like 5 of my close friends. But that's a little insight of what I can wake up to sometimes after a night out. So bad. It's so bad. Sorry, Mom, I know you're listening, but I know you're dying laughing right now. So after I check my social media, I will just rot in my best friend's bed with her. Most of the time I'm waiting for her to wake up so I could be like, hey, what the fuck happened last night? What the fuck was I on? Me and Sammy will literally rot for hours. We will literally just go through our camera roll. We will go through our Snapchat. We will be like, dude, this person was there last night and this person was there. Some of my best memories with her have been when we were both hungover and just debriefing. So when we are doing our annual rot, at some point we will decide, hey, we should go get food or we should just go get something. Most of the time it is Starbucks, but if we need food, we will go get McDonald's breakfast. Nothing hits harder than McDonald's breakfast after a night out when you are hungover as shit. McDonald's breakfast, though, is a rare occurrence, simply because it's not 24 hours anymore, and by the time we are ready to get up and get started with our day, it is already closed. So our go-to hangover spot is definitely Starbucks. We both get a refresher. If I had coffee after a hangover, I think I would actually explode. That would not go through my stomach right. She gets a mango dragon fruit, I get a strawberry acai. Are we surprised? No. And then we literally have a parking spot where we will just sit and talk about the night. And we will sit in the Starbucks parking lot for probably like an hour and a half. And I love our debriefs at Starbucks because we will just sit and just talk about the same pinpoint of the night, like over and over and over again. I'll be like, yeah, like XYZ came up to me. And she'll be like, oh my gosh, LMNOP was seen with ABC. I don't know why the fuck I'm using letters as nicknames for people. And then I'll go back to, yeah, XYZ came up to me. And it'll just be the same circle over and over and over again. And I love it. Or sometimes if we're really feeling it, we will go get brunch. and we will get mimosas and a good breakfast. Me and Sammy had gone out with our friend Megan for the first time, and we were all violently hungover. And we did go to Starbucks, and then after we were like, fuck it, let's just go to brunch. We got brunch, got mimosas. The breakfast was so good, we couldn't even talk. When the food came out, we were just devouring everything in front of us. Like, damn, that's how you know it's good, when you can't even talk shit. And then usually the rest of the day we'll just rot. I most of the time call my mom and be like, Mom, you're never gonna believe what happened last night. Love entertaining my mom with my stories. But if I'm ever at home and I'm hungover, I always do this one thing that my dad taught me, actually, and it's to just down a Capri Sun and eat a bag of Cheez-Its. Okay, that sounds really weird, but listen to me. There is something about the sugar in a Capri Sun and then the salt and the Cheez-Its that just cure my hangover when I'm at home. If I am very hungover at home, I always know that there's gonna be Capri Suns and Cheez-Its on deck, and they will single-handedly save my day. I really want to know the science behind it. Like I said, I think it's something with the sugar and the salt, but that's just something my dad taught me that I always stand by and that I always do when I'm home. Now, our lessons learned from our hangover antics. Don't mix your alcohol. Go out with people that know your limits and that you love, so the next day you can just rot in bed with them. Don't trust Pink Whitney. Sometimes when you think all the alcohol is out of you, it's not, and you will be throwing up in the middle of your college campus. And finally, Cheez-Its and Capri Sun are one of the best hangover remedies. Alright, I'm gonna move on into the Q&A section of this video. Whoever fucking wrote this, I love you. Have you ever had a hangover so legendary you're still telling stories about it? What was your most unforgettable hangover? Definitely this recent hangover I had, just because I think it's hilarious. If you guys see a puke stain in the middle of the nursing college, that was me. Definitely my first hangover too, just because it was my first hangover, because that was just the beginning of very many more long nights and very many more mornings that I regret. Your go-to hangover remedy, my best friend in Starbucks for sure. Nothing will beat that. Or like I said, when I'm at home, Cheez-Its and Capri Suns. What's a lesson you've learned from a memorable hangover? Oh, see, I'm trying to think of a lesson I have learned from being hungover compared to a lesson from my actions of the night before. Oh, staying hydrated. For sure. If you are so hungover to the point where you are getting sick, as much as it may hurt to consume water and liquid IV or any type of hydrating liquid, it will literally be your lifesaver and it will literally keep you going. What's an embarrassing situation you found yourself in after a night out? I lightly mentioned before about my date dash that I had went to with my best friend Seth, and like I said, I don't remember the night, unfortunately. But one part I will always remember, because he will remind me, is that he carried me to my dorm in the elevator into my dorm room. That is something I will never forget, even though I don't remember that happening. What's your best hangover hack that you swear to get through the day? Again, staying hydrated, but my water bottle will save my life after a night out, and the water has to be cold. Also Advil, just because I struggle with migraines in the morning after. How do you bounce back from a hangover, and what keeps you going after a night? When I am hungover, I will give myself the day. A lot of people might not agree with that, but I think it's what your body needs after you abuse it from the night before. I keep saying it over and over and over again, but I will hydrate my body, I will feed my body for whatever they need. I usually feed my body something greasy. As gross as it is, I'm not the biggest fan of greasy food, but it genuinely helps so much. It helps my body get through the day. I let my body rest. I take a long, hot shower, and usually if I do that, I'll be ready to go out the same night. That's a joke, but not really. What's your most cringe-worthy hangover story? Oh my god. This one night, I had gone out. It was the first night I went out freshman year. Again, I had drank Pink Whitney. I don't know what the fuck I was on for like 2 years of my life, but Pink Whitney was like the only thing I'd consume. That and Malibu. I mentioned this in episode 1, but I had a situationship, and the first night I ever went out to a frat party, it was his. I was really mad about something, and I was making such a scene mean to the point where I almost got blacklisted from this frat. First night I ever go out to a frat party, I get threatened to be blacklisted, which is so funny. Very on brand, I guess. And I remember the next day I was just being told everything that I was doing the night before, and I was just so utterly embarrassed. And even looking at the texts that I was sending this certain person and the calls, not a good morning after. Let's do one final question and then I'm gonna wrap this up. If you can go back in time and give your pre-hangover self one piece of advice, what would it be? Don't fucking drink as much as you drank. That's literally the best piece of advice I can give my non-hangover self to my hangover self. You may think you need that drink, but I promise you, you don't. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you took in some tips. I hope you related to this episode. This was definitely one of my most fun episodes to talk about and to film. We've made it through the first month of 2024 and I cannot wait for many, many more. If you're listening to me on Spotify, I'm gonna put a little Q&A on what else you would like to see in future episodes. And if you are watching on YouTube, leave anything in the comments of what you'd like to see more from the Poor Decisions podcast. I'm so excited for the month of February. I think it's gonna be a really good month. I have so many things planned. I'm so excited. Also, remember, if you want to be featured on our next episode of Girl Talk, I have a form linked below and you can share your prompts or questions and I will answer them on the pod and give you my own personal advice on the situation. If you want more of the pod, we are streaming everywhere. Follow us on TikTok and on Instagram at the Poor Decisions Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube as well. If you enjoyed this episode and if you enjoyed the podcast, give me a 5-star review, please. I would appreciate that so much. And if you want more of me personally, you can find me on all my social media platforms at Sydney Christensen with 2 eyes on Instagram and on TikTok. And then my YouTube is just Sydney Christensen. And I have not been posting on there. I am so sorry, but I am going to change that. I am stating it so you will hold me accountable. But anyways, I love you all so much. Thank you so much for listening and thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next Monday with another episode. Love you. Bye. Peace.